It's a pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Mr. Morton B. Rytoft, who is the editor of Inkish. Inkish.tv is an online TV channel for and about the printing industry. You will find videos about people, events, companies, business, and technology. Inkish, founded in 2014, is a channel which delivers stories from trade shows, events, and printing companies. This channel claims to be unbiased and independent, but mind you, it takes the side of all the printers across the world. Mr. Morton is a printer and tells about technology through the eyes of a printer and what it does for the business from a business perspective. Mr. Morton is an accomplished speaker, having delivered presentations in Brazil, of course, India, Sweden, Denmark, Germany, and many more countries. His presentation, instead of being routine and conventional, are out of the box with a twist. His philosophy rests on the principle of why tell people what to think when you can tell stories that let people make the right decisions themselves. I now sign off his introduction in his own words of be educated, be surprised, and be positive. I now request Mr. Morton to kindly enlighten the audience with his presentation.
Sabemos que esse mercado está em constante transformação, então a Forma Certa sempre quer estar atualizada e quer estar liderando esse processo de transformação no mercado de impressão e, no nosso caso, especialmente no mercado de impressão digital. Sim, para escolher os acabamentos, e no caso escolhemos a Hunkler, um fator muito importante que nós acreditamos é também que ela tem a capacidade de entregar na ponta a qualidade que nós precisamos e também o tipo de acabamento que nós precisamos. Então hoje os sistemas que nós possuímos na Forma Certa são capazes de entregar o livro sempre pronto. Então a gente entra com papel branco de um lado em bobina e do outro lado com o livro pronto, não importa se o acabamento é espiral, se o acabamento é colado ou se o acabamento é grampeado. Em todas as nossas soluções da Hunkler nós temos uma integração e com essa integração nós conseguimos garantir para o nosso cliente que o livro sempre estará completo. Então sempre temos todas as páginas do livro, sempre paginado da primeira até a última, não importa quantas páginas o arquivo tenha. Então isso vai garantir para o nosso cliente na ponta que ele sempre vai ter o livro completo e com qualidade. E para nós, sem dúvida, isso vai melhorar muito a parte de produção. É uma produção muito mais limpa e rápida. Bom, nossa relação com a Hunkler é excelente. Como nós falamos sempre que vamos fazer um investimento, nós analisamos toda a cadeia e todos os possíveis fornecedores e por 3 vezes escolhemos a Hunkler, tanto pelo serviço de atendimento ao cliente, quanto pela qualidade do produto e qualidade do serviço prestado.
It was in Portuguese with English subtitles. I tried to do Telugu subtitles, but it didn't work for me. So I hope you understood it anyway. The amazing thing about today and the industry is I have decided that I will not talk about challenges. Sorry, Dayager. I will talk about opportunities because I think it's more fun because this industry has so many fantastic opportunities. And what I would like to talk about is growth. And I don't know if ChatGPT has translated the English words into something correct. Perfect. So you can see what artificial intelligence already can do today. And this is just the start. The artificial intelligence or AI is something that will influence our industry more than maybe even the internet has already influenced our industry. I can tell you that some American printing companies I visited already today use ChatGPT to write XML documents for your imposition. So instead of having people writing in manual XML, you can basically ask ChatGPT to write it for your specific software. Doesn't cost anything, it's very fast, and it is almost fault-free. So that is something that is, of course, interesting. Then I have come with a statement here, and I don't know if you agree with it, but there are only 3 ways to grow. And when I talk about grow, I talk about how we can put more money in our banks. But basically, my claim is that there is only 3 ways to improve your company. So you can increase your prices. I mean, let's say that we go and double our prices. Then you will initially make more money. But you could maybe also lose to the competition, or you would end up that nobody will buy from you. So maybe that is not the easiest one to do, right? Then you can sell more, You can sell more of the same products that you already do, or you can create new and complementary products. That could be like, if you sell letterheads, also sell the envelopes. A very simple example, but just as an example. Or new on broader markets. I don't know how it is here in India, but when I started in the printing industry in Denmark in 2000, in 1998 there was almost 2,000 printing companies in a country with 6 million people. Today we are 70. And a lot of them have closed because when generations, they didn't want to give it to the kids and continue. Some have merged. So a lot of changes in the industry. So if you want to have a broader market, when I started in industry, in my city we were 3 printing companies and we hated each other. They were the bad ones, we were the good ones, right? And then the next generation was that actually the city next to us, they started to sell print in our city, right? So now we started selling print in their city. And then it was from one state to another state. And then it was in Europe. And then the Chinese came, right? So the globalization and the internationalization is something that we have learned, all of us, I guess. Maybe not so much in India because you're protecting your market. But in many other countries in the world, this is something that is changing the market alone from a globalization perspective. It sounds so easy to say that we should grow. But the problem is that it is not as easy because otherwise we would have all grown, right? So my claim again is here that the only way you can grow is knowing your competition. The competition can be other printing companies, of course. I guess that even though you're friends here, when we get outside here, you are competitors, right? You want the business from everybody. You want to grow your own company. Take that as a very natural thing of running a business. You want to grow. So other printing companies is one, let's say, competitor that we need to know. I will give an example also in a moment about other technologies. But all of us know that some of the products that we are not printing today, it can be, at least in the Western world, it is like we don't see so many yellow pages anymore. We don't see so many of like large print runs of brochures. It's decreasing. So that is like one way of seeing how the internet has taken over some of the printed products. And if the internet takes over some of the products, it may take over some other products. One of the things, to answer your question as the gentleman asked, I mean, the packaging is one of the things that is really nice because it cannot be taken over by an iPad. I think that will be packaging for a long, long time at least, right? And then there's entirely new players. One of the things that we will see some examples in the end of the presentation, but one of the things that a lot of people are not paying so much attention to is Google, Amazon, a lot of the entities that we see as information things, but they are now starting to make print files, sell print. And they basically, you end up in a situation that you can have a lot of work from Amazon, for example, but you don't know the customers. And I don't know how it's here in India, but in my country, it is very important to know your customer. It's very important to have relationships with them. It's a very important part of most people's business to know that you can go out for dinner, you can have a beer after done a well-done job or whatever you want to do with them. But with Amazon, you don't know the customers. You just know that you delivered a lot of files. And just to give you an example, one of the big trends in the industry right now is the production of one. Digital production of one copies. Of course, it doesn't apply to all products. But when you sell a book, I was in a couple of American printing companies and European printing companies as well. One day, they got 35,000 orders. 35,000 orders of books of one. All of them were printed within 24 hours and shipped. That was softcover books, hardcover books, saddle stitch products. 35,000, and they didn't know one customer. They sent the invoice to Amazon. Can you imagine how much difference it gives if it was your business? See, the challenge for me now is I don't have my presentation, so I don't know what the next slide is, so I have to look there all the time. So, how many of you sell menu cards or produce them? Hands up. A few, right? But you see them everywhere, right? You see posters everywhere. You see these kind of products everywhere. This is something that I know all over in the world has been a product that a lot of printing companies for years have produced. Can you click on the next, Jules? How many have seen these in restaurants now? I mean, every restaurant I have been here in India for the past few days, except yesterday, we're having a QR code on their table. And when you scan it, you basically get the menu card on the phone. And so is that good or bad? It's good because it's easier for the user, and it's maybe better for the restaurant because they can keep your menu cards more current. But is it good for us as an industry? Maybe not, right? So take the next one here. So the next thing is that we can ask ourselves, so why is it that hotels and restaurants choose to have it? We spoke about that, of course, it's because they save money, more current information, if you click one more time. But maybe they have the same challenge as we have. They cannot increase the prices because of competition. They want to sell more, and they want to lower the cost. So exact same ways of how we look at our businesses to make more profit and grow is to keep costs down. So if you click on the next one, this is a terrible example from my hotel, a super nice 5-star hotel across the street. Because they have a menu card in the hotel room, and I scanned it when I came 5 a.m. the other morning because I was very hungry. So you have the value versus price. This is an actual screenshot from my phone, 52 pages of a menu card that didn't even scale to my phone, just a PDF file. And I was just like, I can't do this. So I just took the phone call, say, can you give me a club sandwich and a beer? That was much easier. So again, value versus price. So every time we in the market see something that is not good for our industry, we have to think about, can we create a value for our customers that is higher than the saving? Just imagine, it's impossible, I know, but just imagine that you can go and say, hey guys, you have this QR code in your restaurant, but if you use this menu card, I guarantee that you sell 10% more. Would that work? It would be a difficult promise, right? But I guarantee that if you could give that promise, it will sell menu cards. So every time we see a threat, there's also an opportunity in it, in my opinion. So, I don't know if that was a movement that you did in India, but that was my sons, they did it all the time last year. So that was like, whoa, yeah, kind of way. So let's move to the next thing here. Because who am I? Thank you for the introduction, very nice, appreciate it. I also appreciate very much that you have allowed me to come here and present to you. I used to work in a printing company in sales for 10 years, and before that I was a marketing manager in the music industry. So I have both purchased print and also produced print. But the real experience I got is from Inkish that we started 10 years ago. We made 2,500 films from all over the world. You saw a little bit from the first one. We always claim to have high quality. We take technology in the perspective of how you make money. Maybe that will answer some of the questions to you in a moment. And I think that technology can help us to grow. But there are a lot of buts in it. So we will talk about that in a moment. The reason I show my family is because, first of all, I couldn't do this without my family. You know how important family is. This is my wife, Nina, and this is my kids, Kasper, Mads, and Christina. And I spent more time with the industry than I spent with my kids and my family. I travel more than 200 days a year. So I am more with the industry than I am with my family. So therefore, they have to be in my presentations every time. Our slogan is we are people, and we basically believe that, see, this is from all over the world. I made one with some of the guys from here, ready, and some more, yeah, one more, I can't remember right now. The selfies is not important. The important is that when you talk to people like you guys, you learn. And if you learn from a lot of different inputs from a lot of different places in the world, and I have the opportunity to come and talk to people from the other side of the world from time to time, I think that we can learn from each other. And my mission with Inkish and with our films and also the presentation is to give you inspiration. That is the reason. So let's move to the next one. So just to give you a little example here, this is, and I'm sorry because Reddy Dayager, he's basically traveling more than me, and I sent the presentation to him yesterday, so I suggested that he could do the presentation instead of me because he's traveling more. But in the last 2.5 years, I traveled 401,000 kilometers. So that is just a little ping from where in the world I have been. That is not disturbing. What is really disturbing is I spent 25 days and 17 hours inside a plane. That is disturbing. For some strange reason, I never see myself as an influencer, but if you go to the SSI on LinkedIn, I have more than 1.5 million views a year, and I am apparently top 1 in the industry for influencing content. So I and I don't take this very seriously, to be honest, but I use it to give an example that when I talk, I'm not talking as a printer. I'm not talking as somebody who knows more than you do. I'm talking as somebody who wants to share what I have learned when I travel. Conference about here is strategies and growth for innovation. And what I liked about this photo here was basically that, as I said in the beginning of the presentation, we have to have a strategy for where we go. If you don't know your starting point and you don't know where you want to go, it is almost impossible to grow. So the first and most important thing in any growth strategy, in my opinion, is to evaluate your own business. You have to figure out what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, where are your opportunities, where are your threats. And when you have that defined, then you say where you want to be. I always give a great example. I think it's a good example. Maybe you can tell me if you disagree. But I don't know your companies. But let's say that you, within the next year, want to 10 times your revenue. Not 3%, not 5%, not 10%. 10 times. How much would that change your companies? The easiest thing would probably be to say that, okay, we just employ more people. We just buy more machines. But will that make you more profitable? Probably not. Because the situation is that we have a very labor-intensive industry. And if we suddenly decide to make our business 10 times bigger, then it needs a lot of different changes in how we sell, in how we produce, in how we manage, in how we organize our work, how we purchase our raw materials and everything like that. So therefore, it is extremely important to have these things going here. And I took this slide along because I think it was important, because again, you are in a market that is so different from Americas and Europe right now. First of all, you have a tremendous big market here. According to some of the sources, $33.2 billion in revenue, which is a quite high number. You don't have a recession, which is also something that influences the Western world a lot right now. You have a GNP that is continuously growing, which gives you, every time a GNP grows, it gives you automatic some more business, because schools get better, spend more money in literature and books. Businesses that grow, they want more advertising. So these things, and when they grow, they want more packaging. So everything is aligned with that one. One of the things that was a little bit of a surprise to me, this is the export from India in print. And that is relatively constant. And that is maybe because you have a huge domestic market that you don't really look at export as an opportunity. And I will get back to you in a second why maybe that is something that you could consider as well. But you can see that it is, for the size of the market, with the 33 or almost $34 billion, this is only about $300,000 of export. So it's a very low number compared to the revenue. So let's talk a little bit about the competitiveness. So I thought that it could be interesting for you to know about the salaries in some of the other markets of the world. I have seen, and I spoke to Reddy as well about that a pressman in India gets somewhere between 16 and 25,000 rupees per month. Is that aligned with what you think? No? Okay. Mm-hmm. So why are Indians going to Dubai? 48,000 could be one reason. Another reason could go to Brazil, because there you get almost 80,000 a month. Or you could, if you could get to Germany, get 350,000 rupees per month. And in Norway, it's more than 700,000 rupees per month. So this is a very competitive situation, because that means that you're still having the same paper, you still have the same machines, you have the same skilled labor, but you're not exporting, but you have a huge opportunity in labor. Just an example. Because what happens with the competitors, we look at pricing. Well, this is maybe not the best example, but I still think it gives you a little bit of an idea. And I took Vistaprint because they are kind of global, so I thought that it makes sense, right? So they say that they can sell 100 standard visiting cards for 190 rupees, and the same one in the US costs almost 1,500 rupees. This is, the interesting thing here is because you can first see this as an opportunity to go abroad, but what is more important, which I think is maybe more important for you today, because it is almost impossible to change your business overnight to this market situation here. What is more important, you have been able to keep your cost and your selling prices and still be profitable in a market where it is not easy for people coming from the outside into India. So you have protected your market. Reddy and I spoke yesterday about that India has been able to balance your economy. So most of the economy is based on domestic economy, which is, in this case, good. but also an opportunity. So I just want to emphasize, this is not about that I think that everybody should export. Because if everybody is exporting, then a few things will happen. Then price will be the only thing in the world that has a value. And everybody knows that that is not the case. We spoke about earlier that the personal relationship you have with your customers has a value. The product you create has a value. Understanding the market has a value. All these things add to the fact that if you're starting to sell in Germany, I mean, how should you be able to do that? You don't know it. Maybe you don't know any Germans. Maybe you don't know the German culture. Maybe you don't know the needs of the German culture and the German businesses. So that is not the thing. And then I like this one. This is where I'm from. And here is Hyderabad. It's just when you see the world in a different perspective, sometimes it's just like a little bit funny, right? This is Dubai with Burj Khalifa. So this presentation, and I hope you like what I say, of course, but this is not about the future. This is about your future. Because all of us in here, we don't have the same future. We have our society and our communities and our businesses will grow in the same reality, but we will have different opportunities. Some will be in commercial print, some will be in packaging, some in label, some in 3D, some in embellishment, some in totally different ways of looking at the business. And the good thing on a global scale is that all businesses in the printing industry is growing. All of them, even commercial print. And always people say to me, no, that can't be true because everybody is saying that it's decreasing. And some of you may have offset printers and in the commercial space and say, no, it's decreasing. But it depends on the time frame that you're looking into. If you look at last week, how was it last week compared to this week? Was it better or worse? Or are you looking back to the 80s and the 90s? Is that a measure? Is it post-pandemic, pre-pandemic? I mean, a lot of measures to look into. So this is about how you define your future by selecting the path you want to go on and to make sure that you pick what is right for your business. You can do it yourself. You can do it by inspiration. When we do our films, we always try to put technology in perspective of where you want to go with your business. Because technology in itself, who gives a what, right? The technology is only interesting to talk about when it serves a purpose. One of the things that you probably also know a lot about is that a lot of people are thinking about investing in inkjet instead of investing in offset machines in the future. But again, as Reddy said to me, we print so many copies here and in his business, it doesn't make sense to produce in inkjet now. But just to give you a few examples of where the world is changing. Did any of you go to Drupa 16? A few? Okay. One of the big things at Drupa was when Benny Lander introduced Lander S10P and S10 machines. And he gave a promise, 13,000 B1 sheets an hour in digital. No plates, no setup, no nothing. Of course, the machine is expensive. Of course, you cannot compare the operational price with an offset press because an offset press has a startup cost and then it goes low. And a digital press is always the same. At that time, it was a promise that has, unfortunately for him and Lander, not been able to be fulfilled. But last week, I was in a conference, 2 weeks ago, sorry, FEFCO in Lyon, in France. Agfa just presented a B1 digital inkjet printer that prints 11,000 sheets an hour for digital packaging. I don't know about your offset presses, but some offset presses that are like, say, 1, 2, 3 generations old, they don't run 11,000 sheets an hour. So that is just an example of how things are moving. But the problem is not that you get a machine that is fast enough. The problem is that your business model needs to change because you will not sell thousands or hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands. You will sell one. So just imagine that you have a business where you need to sell many boxes of one. You cannot have a sales force that are calling and asking for an order of one. You need to change your mindset entirely in order to get that going. Is that something that is happening in India right now? Pretty sure that somewhere in India it happens. Does it mean that everybody's going that way? No. Does it mean that everybody in the US and Europe is going that way? No. But the ones that will do it are the ones that are winners. The reason why I showed you the first film from Formosetra in Sao Paulo, it's also an emerging economy, right? It's a little bit bigger economy than the Indian one, but it's not a very much bigger economy than the Indian one, and it's still part of the BRIC countries. That company, 11 years ago, they were a plate processor for offset printing companies in Sao Paulo. So they were processing plates for all the printing companies around the area in Sao Paulo. They changed almost overnight when the 3 kids took over. They scrapped everything and bought HP T-Series equipment, Horizon equipment, Hongla equipment, and now they are the biggest producer of digital print in Brazil. School books, commercials, everything, right? So it is changing. This is your future. It's not the future. I don't know if you use this in India, but of course you use business plans. This is something that you should, in my opinion, investigate a little bit. It's called the visual business plan or the visual business model. And basically the entire business model of your company is one sheet. So it identifies all the things that I've been talking about here, where you are, where you want to be, how you want to grow, how you're going to get there, the revenue models, the business models, everything. So you can basically end up in a situation where you can use that as a tool for defining your path from start to goal, right? So this is a very warm recommendation to look into. And then I promised in the end to give you some examples of some relatively radical business model that is out in the world right now. This website is called freeprintsnow.com. When you order from them, you get up to 1,000 free photos a year. So you just send your photos to them, and then they deliver 4x6 photo print. You don't pay anything. First I thought, okay, this is an advertising model. No, there's no advertising on it. The only thing you pay for is basically shipping. The business model here is that most people think that 4x6 is too small. The other thing is that most people here, they think that instead of having it on matte paper, they want it on gloss paper. Most of them would like to have maybe some UV varnish or some lamination on it. And some want them to be delivered a little bit faster than normal. All that makes this business, I think it's a 300-person company in the US that make photos. And maybe the best marketing is that they have people that get 1,000 photos for free. Now they have just extended, now you can get up to 3 photo books a month for free. So just imagine that this is one example of how the market is changing into something that, how can you make money on something that doesn't cost anything, right? Another example that we have to take, this is my favorite author. This is upselling, cross-selling. I mean, you've probably been at Amazon many times, right? But here's an example of something that I think is a little bit smart. They have a Kindle version, like the e-reader version here, for 16, yeah. Then they have an audiobook for 10. No, it's free if you sign up for a subscription. Then you have a hardcover book for 23, a paperback for 16, an audio CD for them. Then they have received 25 books that are used, and they have 35 new books that they sell on a discount, 4 cents discount. And then they have a collective version. I mean, so they have the same product sold in many different variations. Just think of this for a second. Every time you have a customer that asks for this job, can you upsell? Can you cross-sell? Can you complement the product in order to get more rupees out of the customer? And I'm pretty sure that everybody that looks at it will say that, okay, this customer is asking for the price, and you give a price, and you know it was maybe a little bit tight. And then he says, how fast can you deliver? 2 weeks from now, but I need it next week. Okay, we can expedite it. Then we have an additional fee for it. Just an example again, right? The next slide, please. This is the calculator of Amazon, because they have a printing company called Kindle Direct Publishing. And just to give you an idea, here everything is open. And I'm pretty sure that if you look at these prices, a lot of you will laugh and say, ha, we can do it much cheaper, right? But the reason is not that it can be done cheaper. The interesting thing here is that the revenue model is basically that you are a publishing company or you are a self-publisher, and then basically you pick your type of production, put in some parameters for it, then you put a selling price on it, and if the selling pricing is above the minimum for Amazon, they print them on demand and give you 70% sales in commission. Is that interesting for publishing companies? Oh, yes, it is, right? Is it interesting for self-publishers? Yes, it is, because they don't have to put a lot of rupees in a warehouse. They don't have to produce a lot of things that they don't need. They can just produce as they sell. Another example, I took this example here. It's a service called Mapiful.com. You type in an address or a city or a country, and then it generates a map, and then you can pick different types of maps. And now they even put a 25% discount on it, right? But still, as you can see, they sell one sheet for $49. Would that be nice to sell something for $49 for one sheet? I don't know about you, but I think that if you have 100 business cards for 190 rupees, I think you would love to sell one of these from time to time, right? So this is again an example of a business model that changes it. Is this a printing company? No. They just use print as the primary product, but they use a different business model for selling it at a premium. Another example, and I think this is the last one as far as I remember, I met a young guy from Berlin, and he wanted to send some photos from his smartphone when he was on vacation, but it was not very easy for him to find somewhere to print it out and to basically make sure that it could be a stamp on it and send it home. And the postal services in Europe are so bad now, so even if it did, it would probably take 2-3 weeks before it got to the receiver. So this guy, he made a My Postcard service, which is an app, and you basically download the app, you take your photos into some of these things, then you add your text to it, and then you send it to a postcard to your family or your mom, whatever. They make more than 1 million postcards a day now. 1 million postcards. And the price in Germany, I think, is about 6 euros per piece, including postage. 6 euros for a postcard this size. I can imagine that is probably, if you have an Indigo machine V2, that is probably that you have a value of let's say, you probably have 36 cards on one sheet, times 6, so you have almost $200 revenue on one sheet. Is that interesting? Thank you very much.